pleasure to introduce your speaker for this session, Tiffany Salcido.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. The applause will grow with the day, I'm hoping. All right. So I want to welcome you and thank you all for coming to this pre-conference session. You are the overachievers, and we appreciate you so much for being here today. A little bit about myself. My name is Tiffany. I am here representing UC Davis Continuing Education for this session this morning. I've been an instructor with them for about 10 years. I even see some familiar faces. I visited your counties. But part of my background is also in case management and service delivery with CalWORKs. I started with CalWORKs in the early 2000s. Do you all remember low-rise jeans? Right? When it was cool? So when I started, welfare reform had just happened. So it was like close to the end of the 90s, early 2000s, where we were really focusing on compliance. And so the messaging that was very prevalent with CalWORKs at the time is make people do what they're supposed to. Personal responsibility and accountability. Do you all remember that? So it's been beaten into us for years. Do what we say or else you'll get sanctioned. Or worse, right? And so it's become part of the culture of CalWORKs. It's really focused on do what we tell you to do, follow the rules, or else there's gonna be some consequences. And my quick question for you here is, how's that working for us? Not so much, right? I hate to be the one to break the news to you, but as human services professionals, we don't have the best reputation on these streets. Most people are not super excited, like, oh my God, I get to go hang out at the county office today. I cannot wait to meet my caseworker. They're gonna be amazing. So we wanna shift that. This is part of the growth of CalWORKs. We've recognized that this compliance-based, we're the experts, do what you're told, stay in line, follow the path, jump through the hoops, has not worked well for us. It's not leading us to the outcomes that we want, because what is it that we're hoping for? Anybody? What do we want really from CalWORKs? What's the goal? Self-sufficiency, right? We want to get people off aid. We want them to be financially independent. We want them to have jobs that sustain them financially. We want them to have lives that are whole, where they're thriving in our communities, because it makes our community stronger. And so if we're looking to change outcomes, we cannot change the people, we have to change ourselves. Okay, so today in this session, we'll be really thinking about shifting the lens. We'll be looking about shifting from the way it has been to how it could be and how it should be. And as we focus on these different components, there are going to be three things that we'll really be digging into. The first one is going to be our mindsets. How do we think about our clients? How do we think about our services? How do we think about our approach? We'll also be working on some skill sets. How do we approach this from a skill-based perspective, including how to have better conversations, how to have more compassion and empathy. And lastly, we'll talk about some tool sets and some resources for you and for your counties and for the people that we serve to really be able to improve the way that we engage with families. So what we're not going to do today is we're not going to go around the room and everybody say their name and their favorite color unicorn. So can we all just take a collective sigh of relief? That was nice. So there's a lot of people here. And I encourage you, one of the beautiful things about conferences is that you get to meet people from different areas. So one of the things I will encourage you to do is to network. Talk to as many people as you can. Share business cards with each other, because there's 58 counties in California, not including all of our tribes. And so this means that we're all going through this together. Maybe it looks a little different, like we're not all on the same boat, but we're definitely going through the same storm. And so the more that we can connect with each other, the easier our work becomes. So let's get on into it. I have to warn you, I'm gonna do some of the work and you're gonna do some of the work. So if you thought you were just gonna sit here and look pretty today, whoo, you're gonna work, W-E-R-K, but not really that hard. Don't worry, it's still a conference and we'll still take it easy. So let's talk about our learning objectives. We took this off of your paper to save some paper, so just so you know, you won't see this on page 1, but I'll tell you what we're here for today. One of the things we're gonna work on is reframing our role from compliance enforcer to somewhat of a concierge. So we want the families in our care to be the experts in their life. What we are gonna be the experts of is what services are available. So I don't know if any of you have been to like a super bougie hotel. You've been to like a super with the concierge, and you're like, I've seen it on TV. So, I'd like to go see a show, and I'd like to go to a Michelin star restaurant, and all of a sudden the concierge makes some phone calls, makes the connections. That's kind of the vibe we're going for, right? We want people to come in and say, here's what I'm experiencing, this is what I'm looking for, and we're the ones that are able to use all of our resources, our connections, to get them connected to what they need. So we're gonna really be thinking about that in the sense that I'm not here to tell anybody what they should do with their life, because I should be worrying about my own. What I am gonna do is get them connected to what's available to help them improve their well-being. Another thing that we'll practice today is we're gonna apply strength-based communication strategies that encourage resilience and growth. And I don't know how you all are as human beings, but could you imagine if your supervisor or manager or whoever you report to calls you in, and they're like, tell me about what you did at work today. And you're like, oh, I did this, and I did that, and I had this. They're like, it's all wrong, everything's wrong. As a matter of fact, here's a printout of how wrong you are. Would any of you be like, oh my God, thank you so much for pointing this out. I'm really looking forward to this opportunity for growth. Chances are probably not, right? You'd probably leave feeling pretty defeated, but that's what we do with our clients every time. Come in, tell me your story. I'll tell you everything that's wrong with you. And I'm so kind, I'm gonna give you a printout so you can take it home and look at it with your family. And then wonder why we get ghosted. So we're gonna change that to really not just look at what deficits people have, which again, if life were going well, they wouldn't be with us. But we're gonna look at what is going well with the family, because even if you have some challenges, that doesn't mean you also don't have at the same time things that are going well for you. So how do we capitalize on those strengths and build upon those instead of just putting that Flex-It tape on the holes? You guys know that commercial? Slap some tape on it. Doesn't work. Another thing we'll do is we'll recognize and leverage relationships as a tool to support family stability, health, and self-sufficiency. Again, we don't have the best reputation. I mean, even think about human services professionals. How are we portrayed in the media? Can you think of like a good example of a social worker or someone who's a helping professional in like a movie or TV show? What was that? I heard someone shout it. Oh no, I was making up things, okay. Have you guys watched Precious? Mariah Carey and Precious. If you've seen Mariah Carey in real life, she's super glamorous. I mean, I think she goes swimming in a Dior gown. I saw that on Cribs one time, right? But now think about what she looks like in the movie Precious. They made her look so tired and dusty for that movie. Do you know what I mean? Tired and dusty, seriously, give me a better adjective, I dare you. And why? Because that's what people think about government workers. That's what they see. So again, if I'm in crisis and I'm in struggle, and I'm going to the county to get some help or going to whatever agency it is, I'm not expecting to see someone coming to me with open arms who's excited. And do you think that creates some barriers for people to access the services that they need? I would say so. So I'm not asking us to hold hands and kumbaya and do choreography with the people that we serve, but I am saying that relationships are like currency. And the more that we can build trust and relationships with our communities, the easier it's gonna be for people to come in and be vulnerable and get the help that they need to get better. And that's what we're hoping for. So we're gonna build some relationships. Lastly, we're gonna identify some practical ways to integrate resilience building approaches into our CalWORKs practice. So this is where the work is gonna come in. I'm gonna talk a bit, and then I'm gonna give you an opportunity to practice some of these skills. And hopefully when you leave here today, you'll have at least a couple of things in your pocket that you can bring back to your offices and try out. Okay, just like any other skill, I just want to warn you, it may not go well the first time. Anybody a good driver the first time they got behind the wheel? I'm still not a good driver. If you see me behind the wheel, get out of the way. I'm a menace to society, okay? So driving is a skill. You're usually not very good at it, but with practice, it gets easier and easier. And at some point, you get to work and you're like, oh my God, how'd I get here? This is how it will be with these skills. It's gonna feel awkward, it's gonna feel different, it's gonna take some effort in the beginning, but the more you practice it, the easier it becomes, and then it becomes the norm, and that's what we're hoping for. So what I'd like you to do right now is turn to someone around you who looks very smart, and tell them about which learning objective you're most excited about today. All right, take a couple of minutes. Which one are you most excited about? Okay, did everybody find one that was their favorite? So my friends, so this training is only effective if it leads to change behavior. So one of the expectations I have from you today is that you pick at least one thing you're gonna take back to work. Because if you just sit here and just be awesome all day, great, I love that you're here, but if it doesn't lead to change, then we're wasting everybody's time. So I want you to be really intentional, that's a real word, I made it up. Real intentional, see, I can't even say it the right way. Intentional, there you go, thank you, I had to sound it out. So we wanna be real intentional about the choices that we make. And I wanna be real honest with you here. This is gonna be an uphill battle. And part of this is it's a transformational change. We've been trying this for years. You remember CalWORKs 2.0? You remember like, oh, and everybody's like, oh my God, more forms to fill out. We've been working on this strength-based approach for a long time. We're hoping that this is the time that it sticks. But if it's gonna stick, that means that we have to advocate for these changes. And some people will get on board right away. You're gonna have other people who are just scratching and holding on with their claws to the old way. They won't want to change, and that's where we're gonna really have to work. Remember, we can only do this together. So I have a question for you, and this is something that you all can talk about at your table, and choose the level of participation you wanna do here. Some of you would rather just think and be good listeners. That's okay, do what you want. Let's do what you want Tuesday. I want you to think of a time when someone believed in you and supported you when you were struggling. What difference did that make? All right, so be very vulnerable. Turn to someone around you and share a time when someone believed in you and supported you, and what difference did that make? I'll tell you mine real fast. I have the best friend in the whole wide universe. Just letting you know now, it's a competition. And one of the reasons that I love her the most is that she has a special way of finding your gifts and pointing them out to you. She'll say, just in random conversations, she's like, you know what you're really good at? And I'm like, I don't know what. Do tell. And then she'll say something and it hits you so like hardcore right in the center of the heart that you're like, no, that's not true. She's like, no, I've got the receipts. Let me tell you all the ways you're really good at that thing. And then I'm like, oh gosh, maybe I am good at it. And then all of a sudden I start feeling myself and I go and I tackle things I thought were impossible because I know that I have someone in my corner who's gonna tell me I'm awesome, even when I'm wrong. I'm not wrong very often, but when I am, she tells me, right? And so that makes all the difference because you know you have the confidence that if this person can see that, then other people might be able to see it too. You're invincible. So that's my story. Tell your own. Turn to someone around you who looks interesting. Tell them your story. Take like 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Find someone interesting. All right, my friends. I know that probably wasn't enough time for everybody to share, but we've only got till noon, so we got to do what we got to do. You know what I mean? We're used to being a lack of resources, so we're going to do the best we can with what we have. But this is a great conversation to have. Is anybody sad now that you've talked about someone who believed in you? Anybody feeling down? Reliving the memories of support and love and generosity? No, it leaves a mark, right? It leaves a mark on you. It leaves a mark on your future. It leaves a mark on your past. And this is the mark that we're trying to leave on the people. We want their lives to be better because we're in it, not the opposite. And so remember, we're working uphill. And I say that with a lot of love in my heart because remember, people are not expecting great service when they come into our doors. And so the more that we can kind of reshape the experiences, the better outcomes we're gonna have overall. So I wanna start today by saying shift happens. See what I did there? All right, shift happens. So part of these paradigm shifts, again, the rules, regulations, policies, and procedures are gonna stay fairly the same for the most part. There are gonna be some changes. But what we're really trying to revolutionize is the way that we provide the services. And so we're looking at moving from what we've been doing to something hopefully a bit different. And this requires some shifts in the way that we think. The first shift that we want to see is moving from gatekeeper to concierge. You'll see this restated in different ways. A part of it is from gatekeeper to compassion. And what we're really looking to do here is not just be the person using the rules to make people work for the program. What we want to do is to be able to make the program work for the people, including some of those flexibilities that are built into the system to be able to meet people where they're at. There's no cookie cutter approach for fighting poverty. There's no one size fits all for serving families. So if we're really being culturally competent, if we're really looking at individuals and what their needs are, then what we have to do is shift the way that we approach it. And so we cannot weaponize, and I'm gonna use that, it's a strong word, but I feel like sometimes that's what happens. We cannot weaponize the rules against people. What we have to do is find ways to get the rules to help people, right? So that's the shift. We're moving from gatekeeper to holding all the power to giving the power back to those who need it. The second shift that we want to see is to move away from people being compliant, from being compliance-based to being supportive, right? I don't know if this is true for all of you, but for most people, life happens. Have any of you ever had like a rock-solid plan and then life happened? It happens all the time. And so in your personal life, life happens, you find a solution, but when life happens to the people on our programs, they've got to call and report it to us. And sometimes with a whole lot of judgment. So, you know, relationships, anybody break up, make up, break up, make up, break up, make up, break up, make up? No, you're not living life right, let me tell you. I'm just joking. So for people who maybe are in an unstable relationship or an unsure relationship where their future is going, they may have moments of, we're so in love, I can't stand you, move out. And then they have to report that to us. And then they call back in a couple weeks, we're working things out for the kids. And they're like, great, we'll put him back on the case. And like, oh no, he's out again. Again? Oh, but so it's met with judgment. So do you think that people are like, I can't wait to call my worker and tell them what's happening in my life? They're so understanding. So we want to be compassionate and understanding to people's experience. They're not much different from us, just in a different financial situation. And remember, they have to report all of these details to us, which can be very, very vulnerable. So we're gonna go from just compliance, you should have reported this within 10 days, to support, how can I support you in this transition? The last one is going from rules to relationships. And I'm not gonna stand up here and tell you you don't have to follow the rules. The rules are still there, okay? So can we all just look at each other and say the rules are still there? The rules are still there. We still wanna follow the rules. So we want to follow the rules, and remember that a lot of the rules are flexible. And so just because we've always done it this way doesn't mean it's the right way, and there's a lot of flexibility. And so where we really can change and shift is from using, again, rules as a way of keeping people in line, and instead build relationships where people will trust us and will understand that we have these things put in place for their benefit, and for the benefit of our whole community. And so it's much easier for me to say, hey, I have an opportunity, would you like to take advantage of, insert whatever activity or supportive service, versus you have to attend, it's mandatory, or you will get sanctioned. I don't know, sanction always sounds ominous. I know we don't do a lot of sanctions nowadays, but you know what I'm saying? Like, do this or, versus here's what we can do, here's what can be helpful. So these are not just ideas. These are not just ideas. These are not just buzzwords that we have up on the screen. This changes the way that people experience us. Anybody go to the DMV recently? Did you have a good experience? Anybody look forward to the DMV? Like, my real ID's coming due. I'm so excited. I can't wait. No, it changes the way that people experience. So if you go, like we all have to go to the DMV at some point or another, do we look forward to that? Do we have a good experience? Or do we go back and tell anybody who will listen to us how terrible it was? we're the DMV for many people, but worse. Because it's not just about getting an ID or a license or tags for your car, whatever that may look like once every few years. It's about, do I get to feed my family? Do I get to have access to health care? Am I gonna be able to pay my rent this month? Is my electricity and water gonna get shut off? This is the difference it makes in people's lives. So again, another quick conversation just for like maybe 1 minute. What impact or what experience do you want your clients to have when they come into your offices? What's the goal? Right, so turn to somebody around you who looks passionate. How do you want families to experience us? All right. As I walk around the room here, I forgot to warn you all that I'm a professional eavesdropper. So as I walk around the room here, I'm not hearing anybody say, I wish people would have a dreadful experience. It sounds like that you all are invested in the same thing, in making sure that the families who come to us feel safe, they feel connected, they feel empowered, they feel cared for, and that's what we're hoping for. And remember, if this is the goal, then we have to really think about what are we willing to change to make that happen? What are we willing to do differently to make that a reality for not just, and by the way, can I say it's not just for the clients, but it's for us too. Raise your hand real quick if your organization is short-staffed. So pretty much everybody. So let me tell you, I remember back in the olden days, and I have to warn you, I was born in the 1900s, so it's been a long time. When I started, I was very, very young, and when I started, getting a county job was like a major flex. You know what I mean? Like you were on your throne, everybody else was a peasant. I'm like, ooh, you work for the school district, peasant, right? But it was a big deal to get hired for the county, and now not so much. You know what I mean? And why is that? It's not because the work has changed tremendously, but the experience has changed tremendously. And so if we can create, like for example, nobody wants to get yelled at work. I mean, is that all a true story? Some of you might be into that. We don't judge, but for the most part, most of us don't want to come to work and just have a bad experience and get shouted at all day. We don't want to feel like overwhelmed. We don't want to feel like helpless and hopeless, which is what a lot of people experience when we have more work than we have time. And so if I'm already struggling, trying to get everything done, and I have someone who's stressed out as well, yelling at me, screaming at me because they can't get what they need, like I don't go home going, you know, you should, hey friend, you're looking for a job. You know, my place is hiring. People don't stay, they leave to go on to do other things. And so this mindset shift is not just helpful for the people we serve, but it's helpful for us as well, because if we have people who are less stressed, who are getting their needs met, who are having good experiences, then it frees up so much time from de-escalation, dealing with crisis, dealing with emergencies, and we're happier to be at work. And so it's a win-win. There's literally no downside to this. So we're gonna practice. You all ready to do some work? 2 people said yes, all right, yay. All right, here's what we're gonna do. I want you to get with a partner. Listen, we're flexible today. A partner can be 2 or 3 or 8 people. Live your best life. Decide how you wanna do this. But what I'd like you all to do is basically, you don't have to do super role play. You don't have to get into character, no costume changes or anything like this. What I'd like you to do is maybe either you can act it out or you can just talk about it. What does it look like? We'll do round 1 first. What does it look like to have a worker who is a gatekeeper? So strict on rules, strict on compliance, strict on how much empathy they offer. Just use about a minute or 2 to share an experience, or if you want to act it out, you can. Just one person maybe at your table. What does it look like to have someone? What does it sound like to be a gatekeeper? All right? Someone dramatic, do it. Someone dramatic. All right, let me get you back here for a sec. Anybody want to volunteer? What does this sound like? Look at you all are so in character right now, you can't even stop. Can't stop, won't stop. It's all right. What does it sound like? Anybody want to share? Not all of you at the same time? You don't even have to take the mic, I'll say it for you. Do it. Oh, we got a hand up over here. She looks like she wants the microphone too, so I aim to serve.
So it's very condescending. It's the verbal eye roll. You can actually hear it over the phone. It's the heavy sigh. It's the, treating them like a child, and also the severe negative consequences. If you don't, why don't you? And it's just really putting it on them rather than taking some of that burden off.
Absolutely, all of that. And you know what's interesting about this is that, and I don't know if this is true for all of you, but I would put money on it. I'm not a gambling person, but I got 5 on it. So, and I bet it doesn't stop after that conversation, because then you go and find somebody who will commiserate with you and be like, oh my God, can you believe my client was late 17 times and they want me to just drop everything I'm doing? Could you imagine if I was late for work 17 times as I rolled in at 8:17 this morning with my Starbucks? Right? It's full of judgment. Full of judgment. And who does it help, by the way? Nobody. It's a waste of energy. It's emotionally expensive. And so it doesn't serve us. So let's reframe that. Let's try that same thing. You have a client missing appointments. They're not getting there on time. They're at risk of losing their benefits. Remember, we still have the rules. The rules aren't going away. How could we connect with them in a different way instead of being judgmental, instead of being negative? Maybe have some warmth, some support, some connection, some problem solving. How might that conversation go? All right, it's going to get a little quieter because you're going to be thinking, you're like, this feels weird, this feels awkward, this is the shift, okay? So look, find someone at your table, have a conversation. How could you have that conversation in a different way? All right. Who wants to share how we could be more compassionate, more concierge-ish? What does that sound like? Anybody want to take this one on? Offer them accommodations, absolutely, right? you want the mic? I'm going to give her the mic. She's been waiting for this moment her whole life.
Okay, so in this situation, you ask like inquisitive questions like, hey, the past 17 times you haven't made it. Like, what's going on? Do you not know how to get here on the bus? Do we need to make a map for you? Is it the times? Is it the days? How can we best accommodate you? And then in our county, we do offer at times like home visiting. Like, is there an issue at, you making it here from across town? Can we meet at your home? Can we meet at a public space? We don't want you to lose the benefits, so what can we do to meet you at where you're at?
Beautiful, yes. That's the magic word there. What can we do? What can we do that's going to help you? Because, let's just face it. If you've got 3 small kids, has anybody ever had 3 small kids? Yeah, I'm not about that life, right? Been there, done that. But just something simple like going to the grocery store to grab milk can be a journey. And that's if you have a vehicle. That's if you're putting them in car seats. That's if you're, how do I fit all 3 of these kids in the grocery cart when they're small? And this one's crying, and that one's hungry, and that one's got an ear infection. And so now to say, please come to our office because you have to with all your 3 children, and you're riding the bus. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. And so what can we do? That's the magic. What can we do to help you? And there's so much that we can do that's different from how we've done it before. Maybe we can do this over the phone. Maybe we can do it over the website. Maybe we can do it through Zoom. Maybe I can come to your house. There's lots of ways. And so we find that way. So my question is, how does this feel? How did it feel? You didn't get to be the client because we have a big room, so I did this a little differently. But how do you think the client feels? Someone just shouted out in that first experience. You're hurt? Defeated? Belittled? Disappointed? Do you think they're like, oh my gosh, thank you for pointing it out. I really want to get my life together. Can you give me a list of the rules and regulations one more time? Can I get the rights and responsibilities printed out so I could read through it a second time? No, usually they're like, you know what, peace out. I'd rather suffer alone than deal with you people. That's not very helpful. It's not very loving, and it's not very kind. And remember, we're in the same community. We still get to see these people at the grocery store. We get to still see our clients at our churches, at our schools, in our neighborhoods. And so it doesn't really create a lot of community. That's the word I was looking for. How does it feel to be the staff member in some of those interactions? When you're the concierge, maybe not you, but you know a friend. I think every county has at least one sassy Sally. Or Jerky Jim. I don't know where you live. So how does that feel? How do you think they feel after they tell a client, no, I'm not going to see you. You're 15 minutes late. You wasted my time. They feel drained. Negativity is expensive. And you know what's wild is that client's going to still come back. They still have a need. Just because they missed their appointment doesn't mean their need goes away. Now they're going to come back amplified. And then it just creates more drama because if they really, really, really are in need, they don't just take no for an answer. They're probably going to ask for a supervisor. And then the supervisor's going to talk to them, and they're going to be like, don't you worry. We'll take care of this. And the worker's got to do it anyways. Now they're pissed. And it doesn't end there because now you got to spend another 30 minutes complaining about it after the fact. Can you believe my supervisor? All clients have to do is make some noise, and then I have to do everything, and I don't understand why we have these policies. You all have heard the conversations in the break room, right? So it's all a waste of time, a waste of time. So what we want to do is think about how do we shift this, not just for us, but for everyone. And so here's a point of reflection. You have this in your handout if you're following along. It's at the bottom of page 1. And the question is this. What would need to change in your organization to make the shift from gatekeeper to concierge? So I'm going to give you a couple of options here. You can just reflect on this on your own. If you prefer to just think by yourself, you can think by yourself, jot down a few ideas. If you want to talk it out with someone, you can talk it out that way as well, depending on how you process information. But what would need to change to go from that compliance-based, do what I said, to something a little bit softer? All right, so talk to each other or think for yourself, decide what you want to do. and have at least one thing written down of what needs to change in your organization. And don't just write Sally. Don't just write Sally. Have some real solutions. All right, I know you all are still working on problem solving here. But the good news is that these handouts are yours to keep. So these are actually great conversations to have in your workplaces with the people doing the work, because what you may think needs to shift may look completely different for them. And so this is one of those questions that we can ask as a whole to really find out what's needed. Some people, I just want to set good expectations. There are going to be some people in your organizations who are going to be super excited about this. They've been waiting for this forever. And there are going to be a few that are just like, absolutely not. What do you mean I have to be nice to people? Have you met me before? Are we enablers? Are we just going to hold everybody's hand? And I'm going to say work with the willing. Okay? Work with the willing. You're always going to have a few naysayers who aren't going to be willing to change. You don't have to hold everybody back to wait for those to be ready. We start giving that gift right away. So as we continue, this is kind of going to be the vibe. We'll talk, we'll do an activity, we'll practice. You'll think about how to shift this in your organization. I will say we'll have a break at like 10:15. I also want to acknowledge it's super hot in here. I blow a lot of hot air. I can't turn it off. I don't know what to do. We've been working on the temperature since this morning. So if you feel warm, it's the spirit of compassion coming out through you. And that's what we're going to go with, okay? So the shift is happening. If you feel hot right now, the shift is already happening, and I'm really proud of you. Okay. So let's talk about our second one. We will take a break at 10:15, but of course you all are grown-ups. If at any time you need to step out and go into the hallway where they do have fresh air, feel free to do that. We don't want you to be unsafe. So our next shift that we're going to talk about is moving from compliance to support. And when we move from compliance to support, this really means that as case managers, as supervisors, as administrators of our program, we have to really think about what's the most important thing, okay? And for years, as long as I've remembered in CalWORKs, there's 3 letters, especially the welfare to work, that everybody focuses on. Anybody want to say, don't say it 3 times in a mirror, but what would be the 3 letters? WPR. Ooh, exactly, I know. It got cool in here all of a sudden. So WPR has been the thing that almost every county is focused on, and for good reason, because that's what our money was attached to. So meet WPR, so it's really interesting. I know a couple people from the state are here, so you guys go to your happy place for just a minute. What's fairly interesting is that for years we've been talking about this shift in the way that we approach casework, although there hasn't been a huge shift in the way that we are held in compliance. They're like, we want you to be softer and gentler, but make sure you meet WPR. You're not meeting WPR. You're going to get sanctioned. Right? All of the people who do the CalWORKs and the WPR stuff, no, they're all shivering right now. So here's the good news. The state has shifted too. The legislation has shifted too. So now it's caught up where we still care about WPR because that's where we get our federal money. We love our federal money when we get it, right? And at the same time, the state has decided we've got our own money. We're California, baby, right? If you're broke, say so, but we're not. So WPR still matters, and it doesn't matter as much as it did before because the state said we're not going to punish the counties anymore. We would rather you focus on getting people to where they need to be than meeting these arbitrary numbers. Can we all just have a quick round of applause for that? And some of your administrators are going to say, but what about the WPR? They're not going to let it go. And so work with what you have. But I am saying this. If we take care of the people, the rest of it takes care of itself. Because we're still in employment, we're still focusing on employment. That's not going away. But we're not looking for people to have short-term jobs. Anybody can get a job, but can you keep a job? Can you keep a job? And some of you live in small communities where people have already burned all the bridges. trying to just focus on work. That's Rihanna, sorry. So they gave me a microphone. What did you think was gonna happen? So if all we do is focus on work, which again is what we're here for, but it's not looking at longevity. And so what's our goal? Our goal is not to just get people off of cash aid for a hot minute so they come back as soon as they lose their job. Our goal is to get people off of cash aid forever and always. And their kids are not on cash aid, and their kids are not on cash aid. So this means that we have to be willing to dig deeper into some of the challenges and build that foundation up. And sometimes that means teaching people how to have healthy relationships, teaching people how to navigate transportation challenges in underserved communities. It means like helping people get over and find solutions for trauma with leaving their children with people that they don't know or do know because they were abused and they want to feel like their kids are safe. So all of these are real things that we experience, but if all we do is say, you need to work, do work experience, welfare to work, or what's it called? Not the welfare to work experience, community service, and maybe 12 months of education, and 4 to 6 weeks of counseling and job readiness. That'll get you ready for the rest of your life. That's our WPR activities, right? Has that changed? I think it's still the same. So if that's what we're focusing on, we're missing an opportunity to really support people in a meaningful way. And so if we can move away from that, what would change for you? Everything, right? Wouldn't it change everything? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna focus on strengths, we're gonna focus on goals, we're gonna collaborate with solutions. And this is part of that CalWORKs 2.0 philosophy. Remember that part where we started to ask people, what are your short and long-term goals? Now, I have to just admit, the way we do it now, not super effective, right? The OCAT, you all know the OCAT? Okay, so the OCAT where we like, hi, nice to meet you. I know this is our first date. However, who do you live with? Where do you live? How are you with your kids? How are your finances? What's your job history? What are you interested in? Where have you gone to school? What's your education? Do you do drugs? What kind of drugs do you do? Do you have a gun? Do you want to kill people? Do you want to kill yourself? So back to those barriers. Do you want to do a learning needs assessment? Right? And then we're wondering, like, imagine if you went on a first date and that's what your date asked you. And then again, at the end, gave you a list of all your faults. We have 1 page of strengths. Here are the 3 things that you're good at. Congratulations. Here's 72 pages of what you need to work on. So can we meet up again next week for coffee? Deleting the Tinder, you know what I mean? So here is where, in that same conversation where we're going deep into all of those things, we're also saying, what are your short and long-term goals? Go. And that's just not enough time. So when we think about goals, this means as part of that relationship building, as the way that we support people, we ask them, not our goal is to get you a job and get you off of cash aid, which is true, and what are you hoping to get out of this? What goals do you have? What would you like to accomplish? How do you see your life in the next 3 years or 5 years or whatever your time frame is? What can we do to support that shift? And we make it about them, not about us. And so this means that we all have to let go of control. And for some of you, it'll be really easy. And for some of you, it'll be the fight of your life. But we have to let go of the control.